My fiancée posted a photo with another guy that said, "Last night as a single woman." The next day, she got a surprise. We always said our relationship was based on trust. So why did she let a stranger call me at 3 in the morning just to humiliate me? My name is Dylan, I'm 28 years old, and I was, or used to be, engaged to Dinora, 26. Our wedding was scheduled to happen in 2 weeks. Our relationship started 6 years ago, when I was finishing college and she was just starting hers. Since then, we shared almost everything: trips, future plans, financial struggles, and many projects together. Despite the typical couple arguments, I always thought we had a solid relationship, built on trust. A year ago, I proposed in what, to me, was the perfect moment. I had spent months planning and saving to buy the ring. I took her out to dinner at the same place where we had our first date, and there I asked her to be my wife. It was a very special night for both of us. We cried with happiness. From that day on, we started planning the wedding. From the beginning, we agreed that we didn't want bachelor or bachelorette parties. Neither of us liked that kind of thing, and we both agreed such events could only bring unnecessary problems. She told me she preferred something simple, maybe dinner with her closest friends a few days before the wedding, but nothing excessive. That's why I was surprised when, just 1 week before the ceremony, she told me her friends had organized something. According to her, they insisted so much that she couldn't say no. She only told me at the last minute, saying she'd be going to a beach house that afternoon. She promised to return the next day and swore it would be something quiet. I'll admit I didn't like the idea. I calmly told her so. We had agreed there would be no farewell parties. She replied, a bit annoyed, "It's not really a bachelorette party. We're just going to have dinner, drink a little, chat, and that's it. Nothing weird, I swear." I didn't want to argue, so I accepted, though not fully convinced. I only asked her to let me know when she arrived so I'd know she was safe. And she did. She texted me saying they were already settled, everything was fine, and that I didn't need to worry. I spent the rest of the afternoon at home, watched some games, then did some work on the computer to distract myself. Later that night, before going to bed, I opened Instagram. Several of her friends were posting stories of the gathering, videos, dancing, photos on the beach, drinks on the table. Everything looked normal until I saw a post that froze me. Dinora had posted a photo on her own profile. In it, she was hugging a man I didn't know, both smiling very closely. At the bottom of the photo, there was text that read, "Last night as a single woman." I froze for a few seconds. At first, I thought maybe it was a joke, but the more I looked at the photo, the more uncomfortable I felt. She had never posted anything like that. She wasn't the type to share many personal photos, much less one hugging someone who wasn't me. I opened the comments. Several of her friends had written things like, "You deserve it. Enjoy your night, girl." Such a great memory. That made my stomach sink. Without thinking, I messaged her. "Who's the guy in the photo?" She took a while to reply. Just a few minutes, but it felt like forever. Finally, she answered, "Haha, babe, he's a friend of one of the girls. We were just joking." I took a deep breath before replying again. "I don't think that's funny at all." She didn't respond quickly this time. About 20 minutes later, she texted, "Don't get upset. It's just a picture. Nothing happened." I stared at the screen, feeling something wasn't right. Why would she, knowing I didn't like the idea of that party, post something like that? Why call it a joke? I went back to her friends' stories, watching each one more carefully. The same man appeared in several, dancing with them, serving drinks. In one, in the background, I could see Dinora dancing close to him. Nothing explicit, but it made me uneasy. Anxiety started consuming me. I couldn't stop watching the posts. Every time I saw her smiling next to him, I felt a pain in my chest. It wasn't just jealousy, it was the feeling she had crossed a line, the very line we had agreed on. I texted again. "Dinora, seriously? I don't get why you posted that. We had an agreement." This time she took much longer. After about 20 minutes, she answered, "Dylan, please relax. It's nothing. If you're going to act like this, we'll talk tomorrow." And she left me there, stuck with that image in my head. It was almost 2 a.m., and I was still awake, phone in hand, debating whether to call her or wait until she came home the next day. On one hand, I wanted to avoid an argument over text, but on the other, I felt I needed an explanation right away. The hours passed, and I still couldn't sleep. The last time I looked at the clock, it was 4 a.m. The room was completely dark, but my mind wouldn't stop spinning. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Dinora hugging that man. It wasn't just the photo itself. It was what it represented. The lack of respect, the broken agreement, the bitter feeling that something was happening there and I didn't know about it. So when my phone rang, I almost jumped out of bed. It was a call. I looked at the screen. Dinora. My heart raced as I answered, my voice hoarse with tiredness and irritation. Why did you post that? At first, I didn't hear her. Instead, I heard laughter in the background. Women laughing, shouting loud music. Dinora, I repeated. Suddenly, a male voice answered. Hey man, relax, he said in a mocking tone. We're just having fun here. She and I were just dancing, bro. More laughter erupted in the background. Let me talk to Dinora, I demanded, but the guy kept going. Don't worry, man. If you do your job right and keep her satisfied, she won't have to look elsewhere. Or maybe you don't please her, huh? That's why you're insecure, right? Don't worry. I'll make sure she's satisfied so she won't be in a bad mood anymore. My heart pounded and the blood rushed to my head. Before I could respond, more laughter echoed and the call dropped. I sat there frozen, phone in hand, listening to the silence in the room. What I felt first was a mix of rage and disbelief. Did I really hear that? Did someone actually have the audacity to insult me like that, to humiliate me, to mock my relationship? For a moment, I thought of calling again, but I knew I'd just end up screaming and she probably wouldn't even answer. That was enough. I didn't need explanations. I didn't need her to come back the next day and say it was just a joke. That call was more than enough. I sat on the bed for a few minutes, staring at nothing. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't break anything. Instead, I felt a strange calm, as if something inside me had snapped and there was nothing left to save. It was almost 5 a.m. when I made the decision. I wasn't getting married. Not after that. I got up, turned on the light, and grabbed my phone. I went through my contacts and found the number for the event hall. Luckily, they had 24-hour service. When someone answered, I explained that I wanted to cancel the wedding. The attendant sounded surprised but processed the cancellation. She informed me there would be a 50% penalty for canceling so close to the date. I simply said it was fine and asked them to send the confirmation to my email. Next, I called the catering company to cancel the banquet. Once again, they said they couldn't refund the full deposit. I didn't care. Then I called the band we had hired. Canceled them too. Did the same with the photographer and the florist. Each call made me feel lighter, as if I was taking a huge weight off my shoulders. By 6:30 a.m., after finishing the main cancellations, I made myself some coffee and moved on to the next step. I went to the closet and grabbed a suitcase. I packed all of her clothes inside, shoes, toiletries, personal items. I didn't throw anything, didn't rip anything. I just folded and placed everything neatly. The suitcase was filled to the brim. Then I called a locksmith and asked him to change all the locks in the house, including the gate and the front door. He said he could come by 8 a.m. I waited. Meanwhile, I left the suitcase by the front door. When the locksmith arrived, he worked for almost 2 hours. When he finished, I tested all the new keys and paid in cash. The feeling of turning the new lock and hearing the click was indescribable. It felt like symbolically closing that chapter of my life. The last thing I did was call the seamstress who was making Dinora's wedding dress. It was custom-made, something she had dreamed about since she was a little girl. When I explained I wanted to cancel the order, she told me the dress was almost finished and she could only refund part of the money. I said it didn't matter. She could keep the rest. When I was done, it was almost 11 a.m. The house was silent. All that remained was the suitcase at the door, waiting. I collapsed on the sofa and felt a strange peace. It wasn't happiness nor pure sadness. It was the certainty that I had made the right decision. I closed my eyes, and for the first time all night, I felt like I could breathe again. Minutes later, I went upstairs to bed. I slept like a baby. No dreams, no nightmares, just deep sleep. I woke up to the sound of knocks at the door. I looked at the clock. It was 4 p.m. For a moment, I didn't remember anything that had happened, until I heard her voice. "Die!" Dinora shouted from outside. "Open up for me. My key doesn't work. Why are my clothes out here?" I stayed in bed silently, listening to the pounding on the door grow louder. I had left the suitcase right in front of the entrance, so she must have already seen it. "Baby!" she shouted again. "Please open the door." I turned on my side and tried to close my eyes, but it was impossible to ignore her screams. "Dylan, answer me!" "Is this because of last night?" "Don't exaggerate. It was just a joke." When I heard that, the anger started rising inside me again. I got up, walked to the door, and opened it just a few inches. She was standing there with red eyes, her face distraught. "What are you doing here, Dinora?" I said in a cold voice. "This isn't your house anymore. Take your things and go." She froze for a second, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Baby," she whispered, "let me explain." "There's nothing to explain." I cut her off. "And don't call me baby." "But we're supposed to get married," she protested, tears running down her face. "You can't do this to me, Dylan." I opened the door a little wider so she could see the anger on my face. "There won't be a wedding anymore." "It's over," I said firmly. "I canceled everything. Now leave or I'll call the police. This isn't your house." "It never was." She started crying harder. "Dylan, please don't leave me like this." "It was just a joke. I swear nothing happened." "I've heard enough," I replied and slammed the door shut. I lay back in bed, trying to sleep again, but for several minutes all I could hear were her cries and pleas outside. Eventually she stopped knocking, and then there was silence. Little by little I drifted off again. When I woke up it was 8 p.m. The house was quiet. There were no messages on my phone, which meant Dinora had probably left already. I felt calmer, though still with that hollow feeling in my chest. At 9 p.m., the phone rang. It was Dinora's father. I hesitated to answer, but in the end, I picked up. "Hello?" I said. "You idiot!" He barked on the other end, furious. "What did you do to my daughter?" "You really left her on the street over a joke?" I took a deep breath before replying. "First of all, don't talk to me like that," I said calmly. "You'd be better off speaking that way to your daughter and raising her better. Do you even know what her little joke was?" "Yes, the photo," he replied with contempt. "So what?" "You're so sensitive." "So what if she danced with another guy?" I let out an ironic laugh. "Oh, now I understand where she gets her morals from. Tell me, sir, has your wife ever done the same to you and you didn't have the guts to leave her? I bet you've forgiven a betrayal before, haven't you?" There was a tense silence on the other end. "Don't you dare talk about my wife, you bastard!" he roared. "You don't know anything about us. You're just a small man for abandoning a woman," he spat. "She's not abandoned," I shot back coldly. "She's young. She's got hands to work, or at the very least, a body to seduce some rich fool out there." I heard his breathing, heavy with fury. "My daughter isn't just anyone," he yelled. "Take that back right now." "I take back nothing," I said with absolute calm. "And stop wasting my time. Tell Dinora not to look for me anymore." I hung up before he could reply. I stared at the phone for a few seconds, my heart pounding, not with sadness, but with relief. It was as if that conversation had sealed my decision once and for all. I sat on the couch for a while, thinking. Memories flashed. All the times we laughed, the trips we took, the future plans, the long nights talking about the wedding. Now it all felt like it belonged to another life, another person. I thought about the phone call in the middle of the night, the voice of that man mocking me, saying he'd satisfy her. That was the final straw. No one who respects me or respects our relationship, or truly loves me, would ever allow something like that. Much less let a man call me in the middle of the night to humiliate me. For a moment I felt a bit of guilt, but I quickly pushed it aside. There was no going back. I had done what needed to be done. I went to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and went back to the bedroom. Even though it was night, I felt incredibly tired, like I hadn't slept in days. I lay on the bed, closed my eyes, and this time I was able to rest in peace. I knew the worst was yet to come. The calls from friends, questions from relatives, the criticism from people who wouldn't understand. But deep down, I didn't care. I wasn't going to marry someone who, on the eve of our wedding, preferred to be hugging another man and allowing people to insult me to my face. As sleep overtook me, I felt something I hadn't experienced in a long time: tranquility. The next day, I woke up late around 10 a.m. The room was quiet, but my phone wouldn't stop ringing and vibrating. When I checked, I saw dozens of messages and many missed calls. Family, friends, acquaintances. Everyone wanted to know what had happened. Some were worried, others angry, others just curious. I started reading the messages one by one. Many asked, "Why did you cancel everything? What happened to the wedding? Are you okay?" Among them were messages from Dinora's friends. In one, a girl wrote, "Dylan, what happened last night was our idea. Don't take it so seriously. We just wanted Dinora to have fun. We didn't think you'd see it that way. It was just a joke." Another even said the man in the photo, the one who spoke to me on the phone, was a gay friend they all trusted, that I had nothing to worry about, and that nothing happened. She ended with, "Please don't leave her. You know how much she loves you." I didn't reply right away. Something inside me said there was more to it. That phone call in the middle of the night still echoed in my mind. The tone of that guy didn't sound like an innocent joke, so I decided to investigate. I went on Facebook and searched his name. I found him almost immediately. His profile was public. And the first thing I saw was a photo of him at the beach, hugging a woman, with two small children playing nearby. I kept scrolling. More posts. Birthday pictures, Christmas gatherings, comments from his wife telling him how much she loved him. Everything showed he was a married man with a family. Nothing suggested he was gay. That's when I realized, not only had they played a cruel joke on me, but now they were lying to try to cover it up. My blood boiled, but I decided I wouldn't waste energy explaining this to everyone. I only responded to those who really mattered to me, close friends and family who had always supported me. I told them exactly what happened, that I saw the post, that I got the phone call, that I was humiliated, and that for me, that was more than enough to cancel everything. Most of them understood. Many even told me I had done the right thing, that it was better to find out before the wedding than after. One of my friends wrote, "Man, you dodged a bullet. If that's her idea of fun, I can only imagine what would happen a few years down the road." Of course, there were critics too. Some said I overreacted, that I should have listened to her side before making such a drastic decision. I simply stopped replying. That same week, the rumors started. Dinora went around saying I had gone crazy, that I canceled the wedding in some kind of breakdown. Some of her relatives even called me to complain. But few actually believed her. The photo she posted that night had been seen by many before she deleted it. Several people messaged me privately, confirming they had seen it and supporting my decision. That week was tough. It's not easy to watch something you planned for so long collapse in just a few hours. I had spent years with Dinora, invested money, time, and emotions in that relationship. At first, it was painful. But as the days went by, I began to feel relief. I realized what hurt wasn't losing the wedding. It was losing the idea of the future I had built in my head. I reflected a lot. I thought about all the times I ignored small signs, the times I stayed quiet just to avoid arguments. The truth is, what happened that night was just the final straw. It wasn't just the photo. It wasn't just the call. It was her attitude, the laughter in the background, the humiliation of hearing a stranger mock me while she laughed with her friends, and then the attempt to cover it all with a lie. That's when I understood something I never want to forget. Respect is not negotiable. If I had forgiven that, I would probably have had to forgive something much worse later. And I wasn't willing to live a life where the person I loved disrespected me and then expected me to just let it slide. With time, things went back to normal. I focused on work, started taking better care of myself physically, and reconnected with friends I had neglected. Little by little, I stopped thinking about Dinora and started enjoying life again. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had forgiven her. Maybe we'd still be together. Maybe we'd even be married. But deep down, I know the distrust would have always been there. Any argument, any fight, and I would have remembered that night, that call, that laughter. Today, I can say I don't regret it. I'd rather lose money than lose my dignity and waste years of my life in a relationship where I wasn't valued. Months later, one of Dinora's friends messaged me, saying she still missed me, that she hadn't gotten over what happened. I simply replied that I wished her the best, but there was nothing left to say. That was the last time I ever heard from her. Now, when I look back, the only feeling I have is relief. That experience taught me that love without respect is worth nothing. It taught me that someone who truly loves you doesn't laugh at you when you're hurt. And that setting boundaries doesn't make you mean or extreme. It makes you someone who respects yourself. Maybe I ended up alone, but I'd rather be alone than with someone who makes me feel less than I am.
Reddit Observer. Comment. This story is a brutal reminder that respect is the foundation of any relationship. Once it's gone, love won't save it. Dylan dodged a bullet. Better to lose money than waste years with someone who laughs while you're being humiliated. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss future uploads. Thanks for watching.